I do think it's really interesting that we are seeing this wave of women who are more hyper independent, who are more in this boss babe archetype, and they're getting tired. They are getting exhausted of leading, of doing everything, of trying to balance a million things. And then there's a part of them that is growing, that is evolving to say, like, I just want to be taken care of. And that's often like very difficult for a hyper independent woman to say out loud. Like, I know that that's kind of hard and conflicting for me to say out loud. But the truth is, we are not one archetype or the other. We have this blended set of archetypes within us that are constantly there. And on some days, some are stronger. Welcome to Healing Honeys, the podcast for girls with big dreams trying to balance it all. I'm Louise Rumball, serial entrepreneur, type A overachiever, healing girlie, and holistic wellness coach who also once got called the Jesus of modern dating. But let's get one thing straight. My healing era has never been calm. I'm talking savage dating stories, 20 cigarettes a day, daddy issues, an anxious attachment style, and an autoimmune disorder too. Today, I've spent thousands of dollars on healing and therapy, and now I'm here to guide you, love you, and laugh with you as I share my favorite tips, tricks, and rituals that have saved me along the way. With new episodes every Wednesday, expect girl talk, psychology, and the nervous system, as well as love, sex, and dating, wellness, fitness, and a little bit of business and spirituality too. So get in, honey. We are balancing healing, hustling, and life, and the best is yet to come. And if you're looking for ad-free listening or my somatic healing subscription daily devotion, just head over to the show notes. Now, let's get into it. Hi, my honeys. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Honeys. So happy you have decided to work on yourself today. So happy you have decided to come and join me again on this episode, on the pod. I hope you guys are well. I just had been thinking recently, like, I feel like I'm being dishonest with you guys. And it was this really crazy moment where I kind of realized that all I do all the time is talk about this girl boss side to me, right? Like, I can fucking do it on my own. Like, I don't need you. I can do everything. Like, I'm going to grind, grind, grind. And then I realized, like, that is true. That is a huge, huge part of me. But there actually is this whole other side to me, which is the passenger princess side. And I felt like, what better outfit today to wear than this adorable cute top with these super cute little pink bows? Because that's like another thing is I think by being in my kind of like more ambitious, go-getter, masculine kind of side to me a lot of the time, I don't really dress super cute. You guys definitely don't see me dress super cute. I'm definitely more like in my sweats, in my baggy tee, etc., etc. But I am like so good with that. Like that is what I feel comfortable in. And like if Alex Cooper wants to interview the vice president of the United States in sweatpants, I can live my life in sweatpants. Am I right? And so I was just kind of sat here this week thinking like there is actually an inner conflict within me, which is the boss babe, the grind, you know, that side of me that is classified by like a traditional society as like more masculine traits. But there also is this side of me that's like so soft, so sensitive. Like my boyfriend does so much for me. He looks after me. He's like really incredible, like cooks for me, cleans for me, like is like such a fucking angel. And I accept that like with every single cell in my body. And with my ex, it was the same. Like he did the cooking, he did the cleaning. And I remember Stephanie Therapy, who comes on these podcasts sometimes, she talks about how sometimes when we really are like in our more masculine, which in like a hetero relationship is more like our dad, sometimes we can attract more feminine men. And I don't really like those labels because I definitely just feel like, why can't it just be like a man is better at cooking than me and I enjoy building a business more than he does, you know? But we're not going to get into labels and stereotypes and the fucking patriarchy today. What I do want to get into though is this understanding that we can have both of these parts inside of us. And it's actually very normal to have both of these parts inside of us. And I've spent the week researching into these different parts to kind of work out how some people become more of the girl boss, hyper independent, go getter, like, I don't need no man. And some people go the other end of the spectrum, which is more passenger princess. I just want to be loved. I just want to be worshipped. I just want to be adored. I just want to be looked after. And I don't think that it's even fair to generalize that you are either like one or the other. I do think there can be a tendency to go harder towards one of those parts. And for me, it's definitely, like I said, I'm more frequently in the boss babe, hustle whore, grind mentality, because that's just like what I want to do and achieve in my life. Like, I want to build a business. I feel like my purpose on this earth is to build a business. I fucking love working. I just love it. Like, a passenger princess will probably listen to that and be like, honey, I cannot relate. Like, all I want to do is just be the passenger princess, being driven around, being looked after by a man. And that is also okay. Like, whatever is showing up for you in your life, like, I respect that fully. I think the really fun part of the journey is actually reflecting on those parts and being like, yo, how did these parts form? How, we're not born out of the womb like in a factory selection center where it's like, okay, these 5 babies are going to be like in their masculine girl boss era. These 5 babies, let's take them to the passenger princess ward, they're going to go that way in life. These ones, they can go over there. Like, that does not happen. We are shaped by so many things. And that's what I've been researching this week. So today we're going to be talking about that inner conflict between being that boss babe, between wanting to be that passenger prince, to the conflict between wanting to be spoiled and adored and treated, and also the conflict between wanting to be able to do those things yourself, wanting to be able to provide for yourself and not needing someone else to do that for you. Today, we're going to get into that. And I want to start with the passenger princess because I feel like a lot on this podcast, just because it's my podcast, we talk quite a lot about like the daddy issues to the hyper independent woman arc. We've already done an episode on that. I did a hotline episode. So if you relate to that part of this episode, I would definitely go deeper on that ep. I'll link it in the show notes for you. But we don't talk so much about the passenger princess because let's not forget, I am also the eldest daughter. So that also contributes to me being shaped a certain way and just being a certain version of me in today's world. But like I said, that's not to say there isn't a passenger princess side of me. So let's dig into both of these archetypes today, both of these parts. I've taken a lot of this work from IFS parts theory, which I am obsessed with. And I would love to know which parts of this episode resonated with you. Are you a passenger princess? Are you a girl boss? Or do you have that internal conflict just like I do? Now, before we get into the passenger princess, one thing I want to say is I have definitely been on this journey of softening because I love being a fucking boss babe. I love running a business. I love getting shit done. I really, really do. And I'm proud of my grit, my determination, my independence, all of these things. But I'm also starting to realize that there comes a point when these things can actually also be detrimental if you end up in that part to the extreme. And I've found that over the last few months, I've become very aware of the moments that when I am in that persona or that part too intensely, I can become really snappy, really irritable, not very sort of like calm and soft, fluid and feminine. Now, again, that's not a bad thing, but I think when patterns persist for a long enough period of time that they start to kind of like become a problem, I think that is when we do have to start to look at them. And so I have been inspired by the passenger princesses recently. I have been inspired by these women who are able to soften into their feminine, who are able to be happier in the present moment, who are able to respect their cycle and are better at resting and are better at rejuvenating. And they don't feel this inherent need to be on the whole time, like go, 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 achieving validation. So I want to say, if this is you and you have softened into this archetype, I'm super envious of you. I really think it is a beautiful side that us as females can develop. And I'm really on this journey to softening myself as well. But it's a journey. And I think that our nervous system just does what it knows and it knows what it does. So it's kind of hard to change our responses, our thoughts, our coping mechanisms without bringing like serious mindfulness to the process. And another thing that I realized is, we'll get into this when we get into the boss babe part of this episode, but the boss babe is very directly tied to fight and flight with the nervous system. It is like, go, go, go. I have to do this now. Everything is urgent. The stress hormones, whether they are chronic, whether they are low level, whether they are high, They are there inside of you. They are shaping your internal and external experience. But the thing about the passenger princess is these individuals, they are better at being rather than doing. And that means that they have a nervous system that is also just better at being in this state of rest and digest. And I don't want to say better, it's not like a competition, nothing is like a comparison, but I guess maybe they just have a nervous system that feels safer being in that state of the nervous system, more comfortable being rather than doing. And that in itself is really beautiful. So, yeah, very envious if that is you. It's something that I cannot relate to, but I'm on my journey to softening. I'm on my journey to slowing. I'm on my journey to wearing super cute pink bows. If you're watching on video, you'll see what I'm talking about. But let's get into it, because when I researched into the psychology, the biology, the energetics of these parts of us, it was so fascinating. So at the core, the passenger princess archetype is rooted in the desire to be cherished, to be chosen, to be adored, and to be taken care of. This is that sense of ease that I've been speaking about, where things are kind of handed over without effort. You don't necessarily have to fight for things. You don't have to grind for things. It's more of a space of softness. I don't have to worry all the time. I don't have to think all of the time. And I definitely know that for those of us who are warriors or overthinkers, and we are maybe in that more like doing girl boss part of our nervous system, when we do finally enter into a safe relationship, it is probably the first time that we will ever experience actually being able to relax into love. Now, let me tell you this. Before I had gone to therapy, before I had done the work, when I was in crazy, toxic, hectic relationships that were fucked and fire, fucking and fighting and highs and lows, there was no part of me that ever felt 100% at ease, like I was being taken care of, like I was being worshipped, like I was being adored. And that makes sense, right? Because that was not a safe relationship for me. Toxic relationships, emotionally unhealthy relationships are not safe relationships. And when our nervous system does not feel safe, we can't go into that rest and digest that I've been talking about, where we can feel safe. We can feel relaxed. We can feel at ease. So I know I'm not alone, that when you start doing this work and when you start to regulate your own nervous system and you do end up in a safe, calm, kind, loving relationship, not only is it foreign as fuck to begin with, but it's also the most revolutionary thing to realize that you can just be, that you can just be loved for who you are, that you can just be yourself and accepted for that and loved even more for it, that you can be taken care of without having to owe the other person something in return. So I would definitely say that my personal experience with being a passenger princess has increased since I've been in a safe relationship, because now it's like, oh, I'm with a safe person that can take care of me and wants to take care of me and is in his healthy masculine, so he can also show me that he wants to do those things. So when this man wants to cook for me, wants to clean for me, wants to come and pick me up, wants to drive me somewhere rather than me having to do it on my own, I can accept these things because that is safe love. And in previous toxic relationships, I wouldn't have been able to accept it because it wasn't safe. There would potentially always be some kind of repercussion, or it would be held against me. It would be used against me. So I definitely think that part of the passenger princess experience comes when you step into a healthy relationship, because that is the relationship that can help you feel safe, feel chosen, feel worshipped, and feel adored consistently and safely. Now, this is where things get really interesting. So if we dig into the psychological roots of the passenger princess, it actually stems from a deep need for nurturance and unconditional love. Now, that makes sense. The first point, nurturance, right? If you are a passenger princess, you want to be looked after, you want to be loved, you want to be cared for. That makes sense. But what I thought was really interesting was the unconditional love. Love without conditions. Love for just who you are, love for just being you. But where things get really interesting is that this can either be a reflection of what we experienced in childhood. So if you're a passenger princess, some of you will have grown up with literally a dad who worshipped you, who adored you. They do exist, I promise. There's a small proportion of women out there who truly did have these incredible fathers that set the bar so high for them, that showed them that men should do these things for them. They should buy them gifts. They should always be available available for them. They should spend their money and their love and their time on them. They should give them attention. So there's a small proportion of the passenger princess who are going to have been modeled that love in their childhood. And then it's going to become the model that they believe that they expect or that they should expect in adulthood. Now, I watched a Tony Robbins conference once. I think maybe it was the movie that he did on Netflix. And this girl was basically saying, I can never find a love that is good enough for me. And he pulled out that she basically was worshipped by her dad. And it set the standard and the bar so high that she hasn't really been able to find a man to meet that and reach that. Now, I know that a lot of people who listen to this podcast have daddy issues. So you're sitting there like, bitch, I don't relate to anything that these passenger princesses have gone through. But this is the model of love that some people have experienced in childhood. But for others, this passenger princess mindset, this lifestyle, it can actually stem from vulnerability. Let's get into that. Now, the reason that I say that the passenger princess is rooted in vulnerability is because the passenger princess is often a reflection of a person's desire to feel safe and valued without having to achieve it through action or achievement. And that ties back to that point about unconditional, just being loved, just being chosen for who you are without having to do anything. And like I said, that is the hallmark of a safe relationship, is just being loved for who you are. But what's interesting here is that often a lot of the passenger princesses, they are this way because they didn't get that conditional love in childhood. They didn't have a male figure or a female figure in their life that just loved them for who they were, that just cherished them for who they were. So you grow up into an adult desperately craving that, desperately craving to be chosen and cared for and looked after. And I remember that there was a time when my mum said to me, like, do you think it's weird that your last two boyfriends, who now cumulatively together I've spent like 5 years of my life with, do you think that there's something going on there? Because like all they want to do is cook for you and clean for you and look after you. Like, do you feel like they're babying you in some way? And that was something that I took to therapy. And I realized that, yeah, it really was this kind of nurturing, like male love that I had maybe not experienced before. And dad, I feel so bad saying that, but it is just the way that it is. It's this very safe, very present, very have you eaten? How did you sleep? Kind of love that I don't necessarily remember getting from my dad in childhood. So I think it's really important to understand that the passenger princess is rooted in vulnerability. But it's also really important to understand that the passenger princess is us trying to fill a hole within us, fill a hole of wanting someone to just take the lead, show up, love us, choose us, adore us. And that's okay, as long as we don't lose our own sense of self in that. Now, another thing that I think is really interesting about the passenger princess is they are very good at surrendering control. So surrendering decision making to someone else, like, oh, I'm just going to sit in the passenger seat. You can make the decisions. You can book the holiday. You can book the flights. You can book the dinner reservation. Like, that is not me, right? The hyper independence, like boss babe baddie, like we like to be in control. That is how we provide our safety. But for the passenger princess, safety is provided by outsourcing that safety to another person to be the rock, to make the decisions, etc., etc. Now, in a way, this is really, really special because this outsourcing our control to another, it is a form of vulnerability. It is kind of saying like, I'm going to trust you to take care of me and to love me and make decisions that are in my best interest. And letting someone else take the lead does reflect that kind of like relinquency of responsibility. And it is just them accepting love and care by other people doing things or showing them through actions. So am I envious of the passenger princess? In a way, yes, I am. But in a way, I also am the passenger princess. Like, I love it when my boyfriend cooks for me, when he cleans the house, when he looks after me, when he comes and picks me up. If I go to the gym, sometimes he will come and just sit in a coffee shop and do some work whilst I'm in the gym. Like, that is passenger princess 101. Like, he is there for me, he is there with me, and that is amazing. So that's kind of why I feel like I say like I've been dishonest being like, oh, I'm just this independent boss babe, because I am. But there's another side of me too. And I do think that when we look at this archetype of the passenger princess, it makes sense why some of us feel that way, or some of us end up in relationships that way, or why some of us are vulnerable to people that want to give us the world or want to say things early on in the dating stage. Because some part of us, our inner child, like if we didn't get those needs met in our childhood, if we didn't get that consistent love and adoration and being chosen and loved just for who we are, then we are vulnerable to it in adulthood. And I also see the passenger princess dynamic really interestingly when you look at siblings. So, what I have seen is that there is a correlation between the overlooked sibling in a childhood. So, say that there is a sibling that got more attention as a child or was more of a superstar as a child. Maybe they were either more problematic or maybe they were like the golden girl. I have this theory that it's the overlooked child that is more likely to be in the passenger princess relationship because they have this deep longing to just be chosen and be the center of attention in someone's life. Now, of course, that's a generalization. I always say the magnet theory, it can go either way. You can go through something and it can push you one way. You can go through something, it can push you the other way. But I do think that that is an interesting thing to also consider. If you are the passenger princess or you crave the passenger princess, what went on in your childhood that might have set the foundations for that? Okay, now we're going to get into the girl boss archetype, and then I'm going to hybrid them together because there's a very interesting connective link. So, on the flip side, the girl boss archetype is all about control, independence, and self reliance. They thrive on productivity, thrive on ambition, thrive on getting shit done, and kind of not really needing anyone else. The girl boss likes to be in control. We have a nervous system where we feel like if we can just control everything outside of us, that we can alleviate the feelings of discomfort that us as human beings inherently have to experience by living inside this body that we have. Now, what I think is really interesting is that the passenger princess is often rooted in vulnerability, that desperate need for love and adoration and acceptance. But the girl boss is the flip side. It is rooted in the fear of vulnerability. And often the girl boss grows from this need to protect ourselves from disappointment, to protect ourselves from vulnerability, to protect ourselves from being hurt, from not being chosen, from not succeeding, from being rejected or being abandoned. Now, hyperindependence can often stem from experiences where we were let down or we were hurt in childhood, or we maybe felt like we were a little bit different, or we were only loved when we were doing well at school, or if we did what our mum or dad wanted us to do. But it can also be an inherently subconscious thing. If we have a weak or wobbly sense of self, it can often develop into this archetype where it's like, I need to do XYZ in the world outside of me in order to get this level of external validation to make me feel good about myself. Maybe because we weren't taught to feel good about ourselves just for who we are as we were in childhood. So this part of us that's like, I don't need anyone else. I just need to get here, here, and here in order to feel good. That is actually rooted in that fear of vulnerability because we just feel like if I can just get there and I can just do everything on my own, then no one else can hurt me, no one else can let me down, and everything will be fine when I just get there. So this archetype is less filled up by the validation of being loved and cared for by a partner because we are maybe more wired to feel like our validation comes from outside of us. But now this is where it gets really interesting because we are talking about how this archetype is more driven by external validation and feeling things about ourselves when we reach certain milestones. What I see in practice is the hyper independent woman, the boss babe, these people are more likely to chase the emotionally unavailable man because there's an inherent subconscious belief that if I can just get the validation from this man, if he can pick me, love me, choose me, he can show me that actually I am worthy, I am choosable, I am pickable, I am lovable. And again, if we dot that back to childhood, if we dot that back to the first 7 years of our life when our nervous system is being molded by the world around us, the question is often what happened to make us feel not enough or not validated by the male figure in our life? Because the answer to that question will often help us understand why we become adults that are looking at metrics of success outside of us, i.e., making a certain amount of money, owning a home, building a business, succeeding at XYZ, whatever it is. So I think what's so interesting is that this kind of archetype is rooted in self-sufficiency, whereas the passenger princess is rooted more in handing that sufficiency over to someone else. But kind of in both situations, there is this feeling like something is missing. Now, the bridging point between the two situations that I see in practice is this really interesting hyper-independent woman who is craving being a passenger princess. And I'm seeing it around me a lot with friends. I think that when you have been a hyper-independent boss babe for a certain amount of time, You get so exhausted that you just want a man to come into your life, to take care of you, to maybe financially provide for you, to book shit, to do the reservations, to allow you just to literally breathe. And I'm not going to lie, this is a journey that I have been on as well. And it's something that I haven't spoken about before. But one piece of conflict in my personal relationship is that I am the breadwinner in my relationship. I am the crazy overachiever in my relationship. And sometimes I wish that my partner would just come home one day and be like, I got a bonus of 100K. I'm doing XYZ. Don't worry about it. Like, this shit is sorted. Now, my partner makes me feel safe in other ways, but it's not necessarily in those ways. So I do think it's really interesting that we are seeing this wave of women who are more hyper independent, who are more in this boss babe archetype, and they're getting tired. They are getting exhausted of leading, of doing everything, of trying to balance a million things. And then there's a part of them that is growing, that is evolving to say, like, I just want to be taken care of. And that's often like very difficult for a hyper independent woman to say out loud. Like, I know that that's kind of hard and conflicting for me to say out loud. But the truth is, we are not one archetype or the other. We have this blended set of archetypes within us that are constantly there. And on some days, some are stronger. And on other days, others are stronger. And I always say that I am the boss babe in the day. But I wake up in the morning, I come home at night. My man, like when he cooks me breakfast and brings me a coffee, or when he cooks me dinner, I have never felt more loved in those moments because I can't be in that archetype all day long where I'm like, go, 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 go. I get exhausted. That is how we get burnt out. And talking of burnout, I do think that like we are seeing this real shift in us as women acknowledging and learning that actually our bodies were not made in the same way that a man's body was. And they have a 24-hour hormone cycle, which means every day they are refreshed, they are ready to go again. Whereas we have a 28-day hormone cycle. This is the concept of cycle syncing, understanding that our hormonal shifts and changes within us lead to physiological and emotional shifts within us, much like the seasons in the world. And I think we are starting to understand why being too far into that girl boss, hyper independent archetype is not workable in the long term for our nervous systems. And I know that I am experiencing that. I have gone through burnout many times in my life. I think many of us have, particularly in the workplace. And also, if you are neurodivergent, the rates of burnout are so high because we mask and we mask and we mask and we just keep going. We are kind of disconnected from our body and what is going on in our internal world that one day it just sort of all comes crashing down and we find ourselves just being at home on the weekend, like not able to like even cook. We get takeout. We just don't want to leave the house. We don't want to shower. We are exhausted. We want to lie on the sofa and do nothing before Monday comes and the whole week starts all over again. And if you relate to that, then you got to come and join me in my somatic healing portal daily devotion, because it is since doing that somatic work that I found that all of my cycles have changed so much. I become so much more aware of what is going on in my body. And I'm no longer just like masking and pushing through drinking 5 coffees a day and just being like, go, 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 because I've actually learned to like regulate my nervous system and release my emotions and be able to come back to this baseline where I can actually step into my body and like ask, how do you feel today? What do you need today? And like, for example, I've been recording today and I was supposed to start at 8 a.m. this morning. My friend here in Tulum, she was like, do you want to work out? Do you want to go to the gym? Now, I do want to go to the gym. I haven't gone for like 3 days because I've been very busy. I also want to go because I want to spend time with my friend because, as you guys know, I don't have that many friends left in Tulum anymore. So it's really important that I spend this quality time with the people that are here. But yesterday I got my period. I was already tired from recording, and I know that I need to be softening during this period, not going to the gym and pushing through. So I asked my body, how do you feel? And I was tired last night. So this morning, I let myself sleep in. I let my schedule start a little bit later today. I started my recording a little bit later, and I allowed myself to soften into this moment of just being rather than doing. So I do think that that evolution through somatic healing has been really, really profound for me. And if you want to come and join me in the portal, there's a free trial listed in the show notes. So you can come and grab that through there. But I think the thing about these archetypes, it's really about balancing these things that are going on in our internal world. The real work is identifying and integrating these two parts. So we can understand when one part wants to be dominant, but we can also understand that we can't let a dominant part dominate our life. Otherwise, we'll end up in relationships with specific dynamics that also dominate our life. Because if you're a passenger princess, it's really important that you also have autonomy over your voice, over your life, over your body. It's important that you can have a say in the relationship. It's important that you can have a say with your partner, and vice versa with the boss babe. It's really important that you also can relax and receive love, receive pleasure, receive care and attention, receive organization from someone that you are in a partnership with. It is very exhausting to do everything yourself. It's very taxing on our biology. It really, really is. But it's also very exhausting to be a passenger princess your whole life, because I can't talk from experience here, but I do think that there is a point that when someone else is always in control, that you start to realize you have actually lost a part of yourself in that relationship. And it might feel good sometimes, but other times you might realize you're not contributing or maybe being valued for your opinion and your voice in the way that you want to or you deserve to. Because also, just because you associate with one of these archetypes, it doesn't mean that you can't change. Like, just because you've been in a relationship for 15 years and you've been the passenger princess, it doesn't mean that you can't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to reclaim some of my independence. I want to start my own business. And a really healthy partnership will support and embrace that evolution that you are going through. They will embrace the change. They will embrace you as a human being. We are meant to evolve and grow in love. And that might be the passenger princess becoming more independent, or it might be the hyper independent baddie becoming softer and more able to receive. So evolution is natural. We are meant to evolve. We are meant to grow. We are meant to soften in some seasons and maybe harden in others. Maybe in some parts of life, we have to be more gritty. We have to be more resilient. But at other times, we can also soften and come back to baseline. So I think that my wrap up final points for today's episode are working out which of these archetypes is more dominant for you, and whether you feel like you have both of them inside of you, whether you just feel like you have one, and also asking yourself, how do I think that this developed? When was the first time that I was like this in a relationship? Have my relationship dynamics changed over the years? Am I attracted to certain situations or partners or patterns that are kind of same man, different font? Are you the passenger princess in every relationship? How does that feel for you? Does it feel good? Or does it mean that you attract domineering, controlling, toxic men who take advantage of that? And women too, I'll add. It's really interesting to reflect on your family unit, to reflect on your previous relationships. And I would also ask yourself to be vulnerable. What is it that you deeply, truly crave? And are you being authentic to that? Are you communicating that with people you're dating or with your partner? And most of all, as an active tip or trick, I think we should time block some things in our diary to be the different parts of us. So maybe if you're a big doer like me, you need to block out some times to be the passenger princess, to allow your partner to take you on a date, to have an amazing intimacy session together, to hold time to do something spontaneous or to go somewhere different and let someone else take the lead. Because the thing is about life is that it's so busy that if we don't block out time to do these things, then we just end up staying in the dominant archetype for a really long time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you are happy, you do you. But if you crave something different, if you want to go deeper, looking into these two archetypes is a really, really amazing, amazing place to start. Because these archetypes direct your love life, they direct your partnership life, they direct who you're attracted to, how they speak to you, the kind of behavior that you will accept, and so much more. So remember, life is about duality. We have these different blended states within us. Everything that we are has developed as a result of everything that we have gone through. Healing is just shining a light on these different parts of us, saying, I love you. I see what happened and I see how it developed into this. Today, you being this way, how can I love you in those areas that just need a little bit more love? So we don't have to always outsource that need to someone else. Okay, I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As ever, please follow and subscribe if you are watching this on video or audio so you will be notified whenever a new video or episode drops. Please share with anyone that you think would enjoy this episode and share it to your social media. Tag us. All of our socials are linked in the show notes, and I want to hear from you. Are you a more dominant passenger princess or the hyper independent boss babe? Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys so much. My honeys, I will see you so soon. Have a great day.